Okay, now that we have our basic project structure ready, let's understand a few basic annotations first. So let me begin by explaining the Spring Boot application annotation first of all. Now this annotation basically tells Spring that this is the bootloader class for Spring, which means that this is where the Spring application will begin. So it is the starting point for the application. Now it by default consists of three tags, three annotations basically. So the first annotation is enable auto configuration. Second annotation is Spring Boot configuration, and third is component scan. Now when I remove this annotation and I put all these three and try to run the app, the app runs perfectly fine. Now let me also see if our page is working. Okay, so I also see the message hello from the bookstore. Now where is this coming from? It's coming from right here. Now enable auto configuration is basically allowing Spring to configure the bean dependencies based on the classes that it sees within this package. Why I'm saying this package? Because the app.java belongs to this package, and the component scan and enable auto configuration. So this enable auto configuration enables the Spring application, which is running from within the app class, to locate all the beans within this package automatically, and so we don't have to configure and create separate configuration classes for them for each bean, right? Now the second annotation, Spring Boot configuration, is very optional. Now it basically is just kind of an advisory. It serves basically an advisory purpose, nothing much. So we can also take this annotation out, and if we try to rerun the app, it will again work flawlessly. Now let's try to refresh this page once again. It works, it perfectly works. Now this third annotation is very important, component scan. Now component scan enables the Spring application to locate all the classes such as the controllers and all other separate service classes which we'll create, repositories, all to be scanned and located within the package automatically. So it makes Spring aware that these classes exist, and those classes basically get auto registered within the Spring context. Now what's important is that the Spring will be aware only about the classes which are within this package. Now how about if there was another package? Let's say I'll create a new package here and name it org.ravi, which is my own name. Now if I create another controller here, so I'll give it a name, new book controller. Now I'll give this annotation rest controller, which I'll explain in the next video, and I write here another method, public string second index, and let's say I return hello from second index, and give this a get mapping of second. So ideally this second should get detected in the browser if the component scan that's coming from here basically is able to scan across the application. So now I'll rerun the server, I'll restart here. So the index page appears. Now if I do second, we see a fallback page. So that means the second, the URL that is -second /second wasn't detected within the component scan. So the component scan annotation wasn't able to detect a controller that exists within another package. Now to enable this component scan to be able to scan across all the pages, all the packages, what we have to do is we'll have to specifically specify what packages it should look into. So we do that by adding base packages, and if we want to specify multiple packages, we have to use curly braces. And so we'll specify what package do we want the component scan to run in. So the first package that we want is com.bugs.studios. That is the current package, and another package that I want the component scan to look into is also the org.ruby. Now when I rerun the app and I refresh the page, you see we also see the message from the second index, which is the controller located in the second package. And that's how component scan works in the Spring application. Next up, we'll learn about the REST controller and the get mapping. Thank you.